Well, the U.S. men's national team got absolutely, completely, positively humiliated by Costa Rica in World Cup qualifying, and now one thing is painfully obvious. Jurgen Klinsmann needs to go. He needs to be fired. He needs to be sacked yesterday. He is old news. He's just past it. It's been 4 years. He claimed he was going to make U.S. men's soccer better. It is now going backwards. Worst World Cup qualifying defeat since 1957. Worst loss of the modern era. And it wasn't just the loss that hurt, it was how it went down. Players were walking around, letting the Ticos go right by them, playing without the inspiration, passion, energy, and heart that have become hallmarks of the U.S. men's national team. They're nowhere to be found because they do not believe in their coaching staff. They do not want Jurgen Klinsmann to be managing them. They sent a clear signal to Sunil Gulati, the president of U.S. Soccer, but is he going to listen? I don't think so, because he is weak, he is spineless, and Jurgen Klinsmann was his dream hire. He went after him in 2006, didn't get him, tried again in 2010 before finally getting him in 2011. Well, guess what? Your dream hire has turned into a nightmare. USA in the most recent Gold Cup got embarrassed, losing to Jamaica, finishing in fourth place. Are you kidding me? And then missing out on the Confederations Cup, which was a huge disappointment in its own right. And then losing to Guatemala, a minnow, for the first time since 1988. I mean, the list goes on and on. The U.S. men's national team is making history for all of the wrong reasons. Klinsmann cannot get his tactics right. He can't get his player selection right. We used to always applaud him for his great subs. Well, guess what? He took off the most talented player against Costa Rica, Christian Pulisic, in the 70th minute. That was taking on a defeatist attitude. Playing an unfit Jermaine Jones in both games clearly was not fully ready to go. Playing Matt Beasler out of position. The list goes on and on. The team selection he cannot get right. The tactics especially have been atrocious. Experimenting with the back line, going with a 3-5-2, a team that knows nothing about playing three men at the back. Of course they were going to get dominated by Mexico. You got to know when it's time to experiment. Experiment in the friendlies. Experiment when you're playing the smaller countries who you know you can beat. Don't do it against Mexico, against your biggest rival. I mean, come on. This is common sense, man. Klinsmann is just creating more and more frustration. As you will recall, after crashing out of the Gold Cup, he blamed part of that failure on the refs. It's a man who's not willing to take accountability, has a habit of continuously lying about how things are going with the men's national team. He's talking about, he'd been talking about the process, right? Things are going to get better in the process. The process is an excuse for a first-year coach, not a fourth-year coach. Saying that he thinks a game was pretty even in which the men's national team had clearly been dominated. Again, huge disappointment and completely, totally unacceptable. So, the Jurgen Klinsmann, man, you just keep saying his name. It's funny how his name sounds so similar to Jurgen Klopp. You have so many great German managers: Jurgen Klopp, Thomas Tuchel, Joachim Low. The U.S. men's national team has the only clown, idiot for a manager. I mean, he's just out of his mind at this point, and he clearly has got to go. The great thing is, too, it's the perfect time. USA doesn't have another World Cup qualifier until March. You fire him now, you bring in a new coach who has time to evaluate players, figure out the system, what he wants to do. But do not expect it from Sunil Gulati, because he is weak. He's not a good leader for U.S. soccer. He's made that very clear in the past. He's invested too much into Klinsmann. Literally. He's being paid over $3 million a year. You think U.S. soccer wants to pay the big bucks to two people at once. They extended Klinsmann until 2018, before the 2014 World Cup was even played. So Jurgen Klinsmann needs to go, but he's not going to. And it's going to be incredibly frustrating. And now the U.S. men's national team is under serious risk, I mean serious risk, of missing out on the next World Cup, which would be a huge disaster, an embarrassment. Hopefully, it will not come to that.